So this looks like a simple, normal football, but what's different?
So it is a normal football, but this one has a sensor inside, which is placed opposite the valve. And in the simplest of terms, it can tell us what the ball is doing in a 3D space.
At a match, there will be between 15 and 20 of these smart balls ready and charged, with each one lasting 6 hours if being used in play.
You can even see the faintest of touches here. Obviously, if you bounce the ball, you'll see a much bigger touch. This just gives you an idea of the sensitivity of the ball.
While most technology being introduced for this summer's tournament is aimed at improving the accuracy of the game, there is one addition that offers fans the chance to see decision-making from another perspective, the ref cam. Lightweight, easy to manage. From the referee's point of view, what's involved?
So as you can see, it's basically just mounted on a relatively simple construction or can be attached to the earpiece. It's often hard as an outsider to judge what's happened, and this might just help. Technology is now allowing us to really immerse ourselves into the game, which just wasn't possible technically many years ago.
The FIFA World Cup, football's ultimate prize. A football tournament that has been defined by generations since 1930. But putting the ball in the back of the net isn't just about skill and ability. There's now technology monitoring every kick of the game. And we're better to see behind the scenes than FIFA's global headquarters in Zurich. The man in charge of FIFA's research team is Nicholas Evans. He's been paying close attention to the one thing every match needs: the football. Meet the Trianda ball.
And every day there were evacuation orders for people to leave their cities and towns, and they've reached a point where most of the population who've left from the south to the north, reaching the city of Sidon. The city of Sidon said, we cannot take any more people. You have to go north, go to Beirut or go to the mountains. And today we're expecting fresh, round of evacuation, because if Dahieh is threatened, then the residents of the areas that haven't been completely destroyed in Dahieh will be leaving. We don't know when or where the hit is going to be, but that's going to put many civilians in a panic mode and rush out for their safety with no clue where to go or when to come
The US
back.
military says it conducted what it called self-defense strikes on Iranian radar and command and control sites for drones. In a statement, US Central Command said the strikes took place on Saturday and Sunday on Qashem Island and the small city of Goruk. The statement said the strikes were measured and deliberate in response to aggressive Iranian actions, including the shooting down of a US drone operating over international waters. The statement goes on to say US fighter aircraft swiftly responded by eliminating Iranian air defences, a ground control station, and 2 one-way attack drones that pose clear threats to ships transiting regional waters. How much of an escalation is this, considering many are calling for peace?
Well, it's a clear message of escalation, especially it's coming at a time where there is huge diplomatic efforts for de-escalation. We've heard, as Yolande was mentioning, about the talks between the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the Israeli Prime Minister and the Lebanese President. Basically, the starting point was to spare Lebanon Beirut any attacks, and then that will lead into a gradual de-escalation into the south. And just within the course of 24 hours, we hear a contradicting message from the Israeli Prime Minister to attack Beirut, to attack Dahieh neighborhood in Beirut, which is the southern part of Beirut.
You've got Kuwait, where a major US airbase is located, saying that sirens sounded across the country, that they intercepted missiles and drones. There's also from the Iranian Revolutionary Guard this statement where it says if the aggression's repeated, the response will be completely different in the scale and nature, and the responsibility for that will be with the US. And it just reminds us how fragile this ceasefire looks, how quickly there could be a more sort of serious escalation that could really threaten those ongoing efforts to secure a ceasefire.
Many here in Lebanon feel that whenever there is a rapprochement between the Iranians and the Americans into a deal where the Iranians are adamant to have Lebanon as part of the deal, the Israelis escalate and continue to put airstrikes in Lebanon to separate the two files from each other. They want to make sure that their fight against Hezbollah is continuing, regardless whether there is a deal with Iran or not.
It's understood from the Israeli media that in the past couple of days, the Prime Minister, he's met twice with his own cabinet, talking about ways to approach the situation in Lebanon. And there has really been this push to pivot from just having ground operations, seizing more territory in Lebanon, to targeting Beirut once again. There was one targeted airstrike there last week. That's what the Israeli military called it, and that's the second time that had happened since the ceasefire came into effect between Israel and Lebanon.
And we've seen the expansion in the south, the occupation of a important landmark, historical forests, the Beaufort one, which they have occupied between 1982 till 2000. So everything they're doing is to say that we're not stepping back, we're advancing, and we don't care about any diplomatic efforts to de-escalate in Lebanon.
And Lena, just tell us about life in southern Lebanon. Of course, there have been evacuation orders for residents in many parts of southern Lebanon by Israel. Now, meanwhile, in the past hour, the Israeli Prime Minister has ordered the IDF to carry out fresh strikes on the southern suburbs of Beirut. In a statement, Benjamin Netanyahu said this was due to what he called repeated violations of the ceasefire by Hezbollah. Earlier, France, Germany and the UK all criticised Israel's push further into southern Lebanon as it escalates its campaign against Hezbollah. The United Nations Security Council is due to hold a meeting on the issue later today.
Indeed, and all of these things that are happening now do complicate efforts, because there is a new statement from the Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson where he's talking about how, reiterating really how a ceasefire with Lebanon is integral to any kind of deal. It has to be a regional ceasefire, not just between the US and Israel and Iran. He talked about the lack of trust there is at the moment between the two parties, at this moment where we understand that the US has gone back with some requests by President Trump for toughening of language in this memorandum of understanding that's being negotiated. And he talked too about how there were changes in the US position, and also what was happening with Israel in Lebanon at the moment, how that could undermine prospects for a ceasefire.
Meanwhile, the diplomatic push for a deal between the US and Iran continues, but it's unclear if any progress has been made. US media has reported that President Trump requested edits to the proposed agreement. The BBC's US news partner CBS is reporting that the changes are related to the Strait of Hormuz and the removal of highly enriched uranium. Iran's foreign minister confirmed the talks were ongoing.
Talks and message exchanges are ongoing, and until there's a clear outcome, they can't be judged.
Panorama has seen a resignation letter from 2018 in which a midwife outlines the behaviour of some colleagues. She wrote that midwives would say, "I don't like all this choice," or "Don't be too kind, she'll keep coming back," while another would write FOH beside the names of heavily pregnant women in early labour, offensively indicating they should go off home.
That is horrific.
I think that's quite upsetting for me to hear.
Because that's what happened to us, isn't it? To you.
Because I'm pretty sure that was probably written against my name.
That is horrific.
I think that's quite upsetting for me to hear.
Because that's what happened to us, isn't it? To you.
Because I'm pretty sure that was probably written against my name. The last phone call I made to a ward manager, she might as well just said that to me. Who writes that in a caring profession?
Those poor attitudes continued whenever an error was made, with little effort to learn lessons. Then in 2019, two men, strangers but kindred spirits, contacted each other.
Hello Jack, my name is Gary and I'm the father of Winter Sophia, who sadly died shortly after her birth.
Hey Gary, Sarah and Winter, what a beautiful name. I'm really pleased you felt able to contact us.
We feel that our daughter died as a result of similar failings to that of what I've read from your reports online.
Weeks earlier, Gary and his wife Sarah had suffered the loss of their daughter Winter after numerous failures by medics in Nottingham.
You know, you can see me kind of smiling there, because in that moment, that's all I wanted in the world.
Nottingham thought that there was a Nottingham way, that they were some kind of superior NHS trust compared to others in the region. They absolutely did not act in the way that they should and in the way that they had a duty to.
Since the maternity review began, the entire board of the trust has been changed.
We need to take accountability as an organisation for not always providing the circumstances for safe care, for not always supporting families, for not always admitting our mistakes, and for not always supporting our staff. And we're trying